Hello, good morning. Edgardo Sambu here once more. And this time we are now on episode number 39. And the title for today's episode Is There Really a Last Judgment? The Bible says that there will be a last judgment after the second resurrection, in which resurrected humans and the devils will be judged. After they were judged, they will be thrown into the lake of fire, or they will be sent to heaven. In the book of Acts, chapter 17, verse 31, it says, "Because he hath appointed a day in which he will judge the world in righteousness by that man whom he hath ordained, whereof he hath given assurance to all men, in that he hath raised him from the dead." There it is. There is a last judgment. But there are some Christian churches or denominations that teach their members that there's no such thing as the last judgment. According to their teachings, there are only two groups of humans that will be decided upon after the second resurrection. The first group are those that are written in the book of life, and the second group are those that are not written in the book of life. And they teach us that if you belong in the group that are written in the book of life, automatically you will be sent to heaven. And if you belong to the second group, which are not written in the book of life, automatically you will be thrown into the lake of fire. Excuse me. In this regard, then, there is no use of having a last judgment, since there is nobody to be judged. Do you get what I am trying to say? To derive the correct explanations to this issue, we have to resort to the Bible verses. In the book of Revelation, chapter 20, verses 11 to 15, it says, "And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and the heavens fled away, and there was no found place for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books according to their works. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them, and they were judged every man according to their works. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire." Please take note of the last sentence. It says, "And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire." I am going to concentrate my explanations to the Bible verses which is in connection with the term book of life. It says here, And another book was opened, which is the book of life, and the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books, according to their works. This verse states that the dead are human beings that were resurrected during the second resurrection, and the dead were judged according to what they had done while they were still alive. That means all the dead humans, except those that resurrected on the first resurrection. All these dead humans were written on their respective book of life. All these dead humans who were resurrected, whether they are righteous or unrighteous, will be judged according to the works they had done while they were still alive. That means all of these humans were written in the book of life. Next verse it says, "And they were judged every man according to their works." It says here, every man. That means to say all men, whether righteous or unrighteous, will be judged according to their works, based on their respective book of life. When it says every man, it means all humans, whether you are male or female, whether you are gay or lesbian or transgender. If the logic flow will be based on the premise that those that are not written in the book of life will be thrown automatically into the lake of fire without telling them why they were thrown into the lake of fire, would they not question God why they were thrown into the lake of fire? These humans have the right to know the basis of their sentence or judgment. These humans have the right to know what were written in their book of life. Take note that everybody was written in the book of life. And those righteous that were written in their respective book of life will automatically be sent to heaven. Will they not ask God why they were sent to heaven? The purpose of the Last Judgment is to let those to be judged the reasons why they will be thrown into the lake of fire or be sent to heaven. And these informations will come from the book of life of all individuals, whether they are righteous or not, when they face the last judgment. And whosoever was not found in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. Let me repeat the verse. And whosoever was not found in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. If we are going to translate this verse literally, then it will contradict the verse that says that every man were written in the book of life. So how do we translate this verse? When we say that whosoever was not found written in the book of life, it is tantamount to saying that human, when his deeds were read to him, his bad deeds are more than his good deeds. Thereby the judgment for him is that he will be thrown into the lake of fire. Then since that human will be thrown into the lake of fire, it is tantamount to saying or the same thing as saying that his name is not written in the book of life. This topic is very complicated and it needs an in-depth analysis to understand it. I do hope that my explanation on this topic will enlighten you that there really is a last judgment after all. Now let me expound on this subject matter, the book of life. Every human being, every man, every woman, every human being that is, they have their own respective book of life in heaven. And what is the purpose of this book of life? This book of life is the book in which all the deeds that were done by the human being while he was still alive, everything will be written in the book of life. Whether that human being is righteous or unrighteous, whether that human being will be sent to heaven, or whether that human being will be thrown into the lake of fire. So let me make something clear. It says that every man or every human being, his name or their names are written in their respective book of life. That means to say, all humans are written in the book of life. Did you get my point? Now, if during the last judgment, and if you're going to say that there will be no last judgment because of the fact that two groups of humans will be divided into the group that will be sent to heaven because they are righteous, and the other group will be sent into the lake of fire because they are unrighteous and because their names were not written in the book of life. But take note that all men or all the names of the men are written in the book of life, no exception. Whether righteous or unrighteous, the names of humans are written in the book of life. So some churches will teach you that there will be no last judgment at the end of days because according to the book of life, automatically those names which are written in the book of life will be sent to heaven, and those names that are not written in the book of life will be thrown into the lake of fire. But I repeat, take note that all names are written in the book of life. Now, if this will be the case, then there's no such thing as the last judgment, because who will be judged anyway? When at the end of days, those written in the book of life will be sent to heaven, and those not written in the book of life will be thrown into the lake of fire. Then, who will be judged on the last judgment? Nobody. Did you get my point? So, it seems complicated, but actually, the explanation is very simple. What is the purpose of the book of life? In the book of life, all deeds of every human, whether bad deeds or good deeds, are written in the book of life. Now, if the logic flaw is based on the fact that if your name is not written in the book of life, automatically you will be thrown into the lake of fire. In that case, if that human had been thrown into the lake of fire just because his name is not written in the book of life, and the reasons why he was thrown into the lake of fire was not explained to him, that human has the right to ask God, God, why did you throw me into the lake of fire? I have to know the reason why. Did you get the point? Of course, that human who had been thrown into the lake of fire, God has to read to him his deeds which were written in the book of life. And if that human is righteous and his name is written in the book of life, automatically he will be sent to heaven. Will not that human ask God, what are the reasons why he was sent to heaven? And what are the reasons why the other human was thrown into the lake of fire? It is very simple then, that whoever will be judged on the last judgment, they have the right to know the reasons why they are being judged and what are the basis on the judgment that they are going to receive. In a human standard, here on earth, if you are going to be judged in court and you will be thrown into jail for a lifetime, you have the right to know, to ask the judge, Judge, what have I done? Why are you going to put me in jail for my whole lifetime? Of course, the judge will read to the culprit the crimes that he had committed. It's the same thing in the last judgment. God and Jesus Christ will tell the humans to be thrown into the lake of fire the reasons or the deeds that he had done, for the reasons that he will be thrown into the lake of fire. Excuse me. It is very simple then. All names of humans are written in the book of life, no exception. But the main problem is the last verse, which says, and those names that are not written in the book of life, they will be thrown into the lake of fire. If we are going to translate this literally, then it will contradict the verse that says, all men's names were written in the book of life. Therefore, that contradicts the verse which says, humans whose names were not found in the book of life will be thrown into the lake of fire. How can you say that when all names of humans are written in the book of life? So this last verse which says, and those names were not found in the book of life will be thrown into the lake of fire, we could not translate this literally. We must have an in-depth analysis how this is being translated. Now, supposing a human was judged, and of course his name was written in the book of life. God now will read to that human all his good deeds and all his bad deeds. And these good deeds and bad deeds, of course, will be read from the book of life of that human, his respective book of life. Now, because his bad deeds had overweight or overweigh his good deeds, then that human will be thrown into the lake of fire, because it shows on his respective book of life that that human is unrighteous, and that was the reason why he will be thrown into the lake of fire. And because he will be thrown into the lake of fire, it is tantamount to saying, or it is the same thing as saying, that his name was not written in the book of life, because he will be thrown into the lake of fire. But internally, his name was written in the book of life since the very beginning. Did you get my point? So there's no such thing as saying that there's no last judgment at the end of days. There will be a last judgment which God had proclaimed in the book of Acts chapter 17:31, when God said, I had appointed a day in which I will judge the world in righteousness by that man whom he had ordained, whereof he had given assurance to all men, in that he had raised him from the dead. That means to say, God the Father and Jesus Christ will judge all humans after the last, will judge all humans of the last judgment, except those humans who had resurrected on the first resurrection and had joined Christ in the 1,000-year reign of Christ here on earth. Those humans who had joined the first resurrection will not undergo the last judgment anymore. Is it clear? My fellow Bible-believing Christians, if your church pastor or leaders of your churches will say that there's no such thing as last judgment, then your pastor is totally erroneous, totally false, and his teachings are not biblical. Because the last judgment, or what they call the white throne judgment, had been stated in the Bible, and we as humans could not just erase that just because we wanted to erase that verse. So there will be a last judgment at the end of days, and I do hope that you who are listening to my broadcast would take this matter seriously, because it would be so problematic that during the last judgment, God will find you unrighteous because of the deeds which you had done, and these deeds were written in the book of life, and these deeds were read to you, and because of these deeds, you will be thrown into the lake of fire. So while there is still time, please take this matter seriously, that our main goal here on earth is to achieve heaven, not to achieve the lake of fire. Because in the lake of fire, punishment is for eternity. In heaven, your gift will be for eternity. So my fellow Bible-believing Christians, I do hope that this broadcast would enlighten you about this issue, that there really is a last judgment at the end of days, or after the second resurrection. And take note that all names of humans are written in the book of life. It only said that your name was not written in the book of life, although actually your name was written in the book of life. It's just because when you were judged, you were found unrighteous. You were found to be thrown into the lake of fire, and that is the same thing as saying that your name was not written in the book of life. Take note, there is a last judgment, and as humans, we could not just erase these last judgment words just because we wanted to erase it. It is there, and it will remain there, and it will happen. And when this happens and you're out of luck, I'm very sorry to say that you will be thrown into the lake of fire. For myself, I don't want to be thrown into the lake of fire. That is why I am preaching this topic to all humans who are listening in this broadcast, that don't be thrown into the lake of fire. As long as you are still alive, work out your salvation with fear and trembling. Read the Bible. Understand the Bible. And listen to those persons who know how to translate the Bible. Don't listen to teachers of spiritual salvation, that those teachers who do not know the Bible by heart, or else they will lead you into the lake of fire. I am doing my broadcasts every 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And if you would like to have a copy, or if you would like to view all of my other broadcasts from episode 1 to episode 39, just go to YouTube, look for the word search, type my name Edgardo Sambo, and YouTube will provide you all the broadcasts that I had done. And in case you wanted to listen to my future broadcasts, just subscribe and what they call is ring the notification bell, and YouTube will provide you every broadcast that I am going to make. In the meantime, I would say bye-bye, and may God enlighten us in this particular issue. Thank you very much for listening. May God bless us all.